What LDL pattern do you have? How does insulin affect pattern B? Welcome to BFAB Made Simple, your daily dose of inspiration designed to help you reinvent yourself by optimizing your body and mind. I am Maria Horstman, a health editor and coach, a fitness trainer, a speaker, and an entrepreneur, founder of BFABU.com. Our episodes are short and will bring you valuable content and practical nuggets for optimal health and fitness that you can implement ASAP. Let's get you to feel fabulous every day. Are you ready? Check out the show notes to 1, schedule a free call with me to discuss a plan to take your health to the next level. 2, submit a question to be featured in our Ask Me Anything episodes on Sundays. Connect with me on social media and much more. Hit the subscribe button, and if you like what you hear, share with your friends and leave it a rating. What LDL pattern do you have? How does insulin affect pattern B? Well, these might kind of be weird and strange concepts, patterns. I know you know what LDL is, but I bet you might not know what pattern B is. We're going to talk all about that. Hello, beautiful. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Welcome to the BFAB Made Simple podcast. I am your host, Maria Horstman. I'm also the founder of BFABU.com. Go and check it out. So during this metabolic health series, we discussed what metabolic health is, the key biomarkers of metabolic health. So you want to use them to measure your health instead of using that weight and that scale all the time. Let's use a matrix, that impact us the most. How about that? And also we talked about, some of the important terminologies such as blood glucose, insulin resistance, what do they mean and all that stuff. And also we talked about how insulin and insulin resistance impact these biomarkers of health. So there is more to talk. We're wrapping up this today, and we have lots to share here. And by the way, if at any point you feel ready to have a wellness coach by your side to educate you, guide you, hold you accountable, and personalize a plan for you so you get the results you've been longing for, yep, book call with Maria here at BFABU.com. That's a pretty easy and free step to get started, which I really encourage you to take advantage of. Why not? Now, if you really don't give a crap about it, then don't schedule that call because I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm passionate about empowering stressed out and carbon sugar lovers to optimize their weight and health so they can rediscover happiness, vitality, and lead a fulfilling life, maybe in a way they never thought was possible. So let's get back to today's episode here, okay? So we're going to continue the saga and we'll wrap up this discussion about how insulin and insulin resistance impact metabolic biomarkers. And the last two that we got to talk is about uric acid and LDL cholesterol, which might not be as bad as you think. I mean, the LDL cholesterol. We always call it the bad cholesterol. Poor little guy. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff about it. So let me just say that we need cholesterol. It is involved in key functions in the body. Okay, you must understand this. You must accept this, okay? And if you're new to the show, all right, or if you need a refresher or would like a refresher, check out the previous 3-4 episodes, okay, when I start talking about metabolic health. And by the way, I know these episodes have been longer lately because I've been doing kind of once a week. Let me share a little trick that I use when I listen to most content, actually, I actually change the speed to 1.25 or 1.5. Really depends on the speaker. So I can knock it out a lot faster. And sometimes what I do is I stop, I go back, and I listen to it again. And if you're listening to this podcast on your phone, it's an easy thing to do, just speed it up and kind of go back a few seconds and so on. So feel free to use my own trick here to my own podcast. Okay. And also I got one more question before we got down to the content here. Have you carried bags of ice before? I'm pretty sure you have. Okay. If you have not, good Lord, what life you live. I want some of that. But yeah, maybe you had to carry many bags of ice back and forth, an event or something. Well, I have a great story to share with you. So stay tuned over here because you might look at ice bags differently going forward. So stay tuned to the end and I'll share more on that. Today, I want to invite you to stop thinking of LDL as a bad lipid. Cholesterol is made by the liver, right? Remember that, made mostly by the liver. And it's an essential for making cell membranes and the cell structure. So we need cholesterol. Cholesterol is also a precursor of steroid hormones like your testosterone, progesterone, pregnenolone, and estrogen, and DHA, and things like that. Also is a precursor for bile acids, which we talked about before, and vitamin D. All these things are important, and we need our cholesterol, okay? So, and since LDL makes up about 60 to 70% of total cholesterol in the body, I invite you to love it, respect it, and keep it under control so it does its job well, okay? That's what you got to think about it. Protect it, love it. It is your body. And unfortunately, LDL has been, used to predict heart disease, and the news and even the doctors portray LDL as the villain all the time. It is just not freaking fair. And it's incomplete story. And what's not discussed enough or rarely discussed at all, period, let's say it, it's that LDL particles are not all created equal. Yes, there is a thing called LDL particles. We discussed previously that figuring out the LDL pattern or particles is of essence here, especially if you see your LDL creeping up for a while, okay? And so that's why we don't want to do this, go to the doctor once in a lifetime over here, once every 5 years or whatever. We need to see the trend of how your body's doing, okay? And it's not only in the LDL. We want to see that in everything else, all the biomarkers. So anyway, if you see your LDL creeping up or you have high cholesterol levels that run in your family, there's no excuse here, okay? Oh, run in my family. I'm going to have it. No. It doesn't work like that. Or maybe you've been diagnosed with familial hypercholesterolemia or FH. Wow, I'm impressed that I was able to say that word. Anyway, either way, I encourage you to do not leave the doctor's office, okay, without knowing your LDL particles and pattern. Is it a pattern A of an apple, which is larger and fluffier, or is it a pattern B, which is smaller and denser? We do not want the pattern B, okay? This is smaller and denser guy has become a much better predictor of heart disease. So don't let anybody fool you just because you have maybe higher levels of cholesterol, above the 200. I'm not talking about insane numbers. and higher levels of LDL that you, oh my God, I got to put your medication. Hey, I'm not here to treat or diagnose or anything like that. I just want for you to know that there's better ways for you to dig a little deeper over here and understand your body a little better, because that's what I've done too anyway. So, and if you do have the pattern B, which is smaller and denser here, it is time for you to put the big girl's pants over here and get some work done. Your lifestyle needs an overhaul, and it's time, my friend, for you to change if you want to fall into that trap of disease and things like that. Okay, so I want you to understand this. Now, you might be asking, well, I mean, you're trying to prove that insulin, Maria, is involved with this stuff. So, yep. It's time to discuss that. So how does insulin resistance impact LDL cholesterol and the LDL pattern B, the one that we don't want it? Good Lord. I didn't think that you're going to ask that question. I'm glad you are. You're so into this today, aren't you? So we know that sustaining high levels of insulin will likely cause insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is responsible for many metabolic dysfunction. Okay. And it's a great contributor to cardiovascular disease. Most of cholesterol is made in the liver, as we mentioned. And insulin loves to boss the liver around. Actually, insulin likes to boss everybody, okay? Every little cell with something. It's got something to say. So we want to keep this insulin really under control, tight leash over here. So here's the sad thing. Insulin resistance can alter systemic lipid metabolism and drive the production of LDL pattern B from the liver. Boom! That's what you get, my friend. You don't want any of that, okay? You don't want any of that. Now, let me tell you a little personal story here. So it was in 2013. I was still in corporate, but, I had already started my learning journey of my health transformation. And I was learning a lot. I was sucking all kinds of information. And that's when I actually started learning about, lipids a little bit more and how the body works. And I was getting into a more comprehensive aspect of the body. And I remember going to my doctor and asking for this test that looks into the LDL particles or my cholesterol particles, because other particles come also, it's not only LDL, HDL, VADL, and all that kind of stuff. And he asked me why I wanted it, followed by my recommendations will not change. And let me tell you what he was saying from my perspective was because in April of that year, when I first went, when I'm mentioning this, I went back. That was December of 2013. But in April, I had gone and done my labs. And my total cholesterol was 210. And my LDL was 144. So based on general standard, these both markers are high. And at the time, my doctor suggested that for us to keep an eye on it. And if continue to creep up to increase, medication could be a good idea. I thought to myself, no freaking way I'm doing any freaking medications. I didn't tell him that. And I also thought, I won't let this family history of cardiovascular disease here to take over my health. I knew that much. I was already invested enough in learning to be smart about that. But anyway, so between, March, April, and December, that's when I learned about the LDL particles and the patterns. And I asked him to run that. And so he did, and that list markers that I asked him to run, it was an expanded lipid profile, like I mentioned, with the LDL patterns and stuff. But I had discovered about CRP, homocysteine, insulin, and a few other markers that he had never run for me. And I'm like, now I need to understand what kind of level of inflammation my body's at. And, so I can take charge. So, like I said, when I asked him and I showed him that list and all that, and he's like, my result, my recommendations will not change. It's because he was thinking of, I recommended you back in April that I was not going to put you on medication unless things were going to change drastically. It didn't matter to me. I was actually somewhat quick to remind him that I was not, interested on the medication as a patient. I also wanted to know my numbers because I was learning about all this stuff. I told him, I remember, and I wanted to take charge of my body so I could decide whether I should pay real attention to these cholesterol numbers, or I kind of, not worry too much about it just because they're slightly elevated. Or maybe the numbers would come ugly and I would have to make some drastic change to my diet going forward. And I had made some small changes at the time. Maybe I needed to make some more. Well, I said all that kind of stuff. I remember, he's a nice doctor and all that, but he just looked at me, said, okay, and he smiled. So a few days later, I got his email with the results. And yes, good to my loving cholesterol over here. I had the large, puffy pattern A LDL. And so I was very happy about that. So I said to myself, well, I don't care that I have 210. I'm actually not too concerned about this 144 because I remember at the time I was eating a lot of saturated fats from coconut and things like that, and I says, I don't have to worry about this. My particles are healthy. They're good. They're large. They're buoyant and they're puffy and I'm good. Now, side note for you, my friend, patterns can change over time. Yes, they can. And it's, your diet and your lifestyle determines that change. And let me tell you, I'm also a living proof of that and more on that when I talked in the future about lipoprotein A or little PA, that's we call it. Now, let's talk about the last metabolic health biomarker in this series, uric acid, and the role insulin resistance plays in elevated numbers of uric acid. So as discussed previously, uric acid plays an important role as an antioxidant. However, elevated levels of uric acid, often by overproduction of uric acid due to the diet's heavy in fructose and also high in foods such as alcohol, red meats, and seafood, are associated with metabolic syndrome, inflammation, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and more. Yes, it's a plethora of stuff, right? So we want to keep this uric acid over here in line, and it's important that we check on that when we kind of do our labs. But let's laser focus here on the inflammatory part of it. And it's a common inflammatory disease caused by elevated uric acid. And that is gout. I'm pretty sure you've heard of, maybe you have friends and family, or maybe you have gout. Well, it affects the joints, especially the wrists, the fingers, ankles, and feet. This is not fun for whoever has it. And thankfully, I haven't suffered from it, and I hope I'll never will. And so that's how insulin impacts that. By now, you might not be asking, okay, what does insulin have to do, or insulin resistance has to do with gout and this inflammation? Well, insulin resistance interferes with the normal secretion process of which the kidney should secrete uric acid into the urine and for elimination. So we pee that out. Well, when a person has insulin resistance, the kidneys accumulate uric acid, which builds up in the body and stick around the joints. So we don't want that. So that process, that accumulation in the joints starts an inflammatory reaction that is typical of gout. So in summary, the clearance of uric acid gets reduced with an increase of insulin and insulin resistance. So I hope that kind of makes it clear over here that having high levels of insulin and insulin resistance is not something that you want. And we're going to discuss more about what things you can do to prevent this. So yeah, I'm full of stories today. And so I want to wrap up today by telling you this story because it's one of those that I believe that is very applicable to our daily lives. And you might look at ice bags a little differently going forward. So recently, an acquaintance of mine volunteered at a local event and shared a picture on social media. And once I saw that post and that picture, my mind went to work. And not in a judgmental way. It's just, just maybe you can resonate if you're a teacher, a coach, a trainer or something, consultant, always looking into solution-driven kind of aspects of life. You might find yourself, immediately going to that kind of space, I want to say. So I want to share this little mind trip that mine went to. So I want you to imagine an American woman between 48 and 51 years old and with an average body composition. And I say average female in the United States at that age. So this woman is wearing shorts and a t-shirt on a sunny day outside. And she has this pretty smile. She's happy to be doing what she's doing. And she's also happy to be around the people she's at. You can just see that in her picture. And she is hugging a large ice bag. I mean, with two hands wrapped around that bag so that thing doesn't slip. So her post with her picture said, "My intimate relationship with a 22-pound ice bag. It was a real thing this weekend." And that's where my mind went. It started wandering. So I had a few questions immediately that pop up and says, okay, did she carry one bag at a time, just like in that picture? How many trips did she make, throughout the day? And how far did she had to walk holding that one bag? And, so you might wonder, why am I asking these things? Well, like I said, things pop into my head. And, in one way, as a coach and trainer, is like, this is not judging, like I said, but as I look into what I'm doing, the activities that I'm doing, and I'm in the best posture. How is my back? How is my shoulder? How is my this, And when I see people doing physical activities like that, and especially in that picture that her back is curved a little bit, she's holding that. But again, she's outside, maybe be a little, posing for a picture. I don't know anything more than that. I'm just saying. So I'm just going with that. Boom, 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 boom. Those questions, right? How far did she have to walk? How many trips did she make? And did she carry one bag at a time? Which was likely the case. This is where, my friend, you gotta love farmer's carry walk. By the way, that's an exercise. Yes, it is called farmer's walk, farmer's carry. You can Google that. But one version of the farmer's carry is you walk, anything between 25, 50 to 100 meters or so while you hold heavy dumbbells or kettlebells or anything heavy in your hands. So drive by your side. And like I said, there's multiple ways to do a farmer's walk. But it's a very simple exercise that strengthens many muscles, including your triceps, your shoulders, your biceps, your core, your lower body, because you're carrying some extra weight, right? Your forearms, and the grip, which is essential for performing basic yet important activities such as lifting or carrying heavy stuff around, especially of the wage. And what does a farmer's carry? Hey, if you're carrying your bags, from the supermarket, the grocery, or even an ice bag that you buy it, that's a farmer's carry. So you want to carry those bags, to be efficient carrying them so you can carry more weight. And you have to have the strength of the grip. And if you're using the right muscles, man, you can carry quite a bit of weight. So, by the way, there is actually studies that have recommended grip strength as a useful indicator of overall health. Can you believe that? Yep, it is true. And I put links on to the transcript of this episode so you can take a look at that study. So, look, if you're going to do farmer's carry, which I definitely recommend you add that to your workouts and your routine, you're starting, weight is going to be different. Right? Depends where you are. If you walk today only and you carry nothing, if you don't do any resistance training, well, you're going to start light. Now, if you do resistance training 2 or 3 times a week and you often challenge your muscles, grab a 25-pound dumbbell or kettlebell in each hand and walk for 50 and 100 meters or for maybe 30 to 60 seconds. And you will definitely feel it. Okay. You might be cussing out a few bad words out there too, and especially if it's a sunny day and you start sweating and you feel that grip. Oh my God. So if you say, Maria, I don't have dumbbells. I don't have kettlebells. You know what? No excuses. Okay. Grab whatever heavy you have around the house. And if you say, well, I don't have 2 of those things, stop the excuses. Grab one of those things that is heavy. Hey, you can even get one of those gallons, empty it out, whatever you had inside. Hopefully it wasn't milk, mostly inflammatory. But anyway, no judgment. Put some sand on that gallon, and walk with that. So, you can walk with one at a time. You strengthen one at a time. That's fine. You can actually do this. You can grab something light overhead. So one hand, let's say the left arm, you're going to hold something light all the way, stretch that one arm, left arm, all the way up. And you walk with that arm up, carrying something light, and then the heavy on the right. Okay. That's something that you can do. Right. So how does farmers carry could help? Do this woman, or could have helped this woman or any of us carry anything? Well, there's 3 basic benefits in that specific situation, right? Talking about the ice over here and carrying that ice. Well, she could have carried 2 bags of ice, one in each hand at once. So then she would do what? She would accomplish a task faster. And she could use the extra time to knock something else out of the task. Or, if there's nothing else to do in that volunteering event, she could relax, or even enjoy more of the event. I don't know. But that is the efficiency. If you have that strength built in, 2 bags. Also, she could have then reduced the risk of back discomfort. Since, when we're kind of walking and holding with 2 hands, wrapping that big bag, your back is not going to be straight. Your posture is not going to be the best. So there is a possibility here that you're going to be curving that back, in order to hold that tight bag. So posture here might be something, that is a problem. That could be a problem. And also, if she were to carry these 2 bags, in one, with the 2 hands and one in each hand, she would actually be practicing some strength training, by using her triceps correctly and all these other muscles that I mentioned. So it would keep her posture good too, because a good farmer's carry is going to really push your shoulders back, and you're going to feel your triceps and all these other muscles. So, there are variations of the farmer's carry. The beauty of it is that, it is awesome because it is simple and you can do in multiple ways. You can add to workout routines. You can do this as warm-ups or even at the end. I actually like to add in the end, like what I call a cash out, which just simply means, you just basically done your routine. You're kind of done with your workout, whatever the length is, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is. And you put like a few sets of 1 or 2 movements. That's called a cash out. Or maybe you go for a run or something like that. So you could do as a cash out, at the end. So it's a beautiful thing. And I just want to say this, please understand, I'm not judging her, not at all. I haven't talked to her in quite some time, actually. And she will probably never know I'm talking, relating to her in this podcast. And I haven't mentioned names anyway. But my point of sharing this story is that as a coach and trainer, my mind and ears are very attentive to possible ways we can do activities we enjoy, and do life better, more efficiently, more productive, and healthier. So we can do those things, for as long as we shall live, and with the least amount of discomfort as possible. And that goes not only for physical activities, that goes for our mindset, that goes to every aspect of our body. And so it doesn't matter if you're volunteering to an event or, getting paid for it. Maybe you're playing with animals, children, grandchildren, friends, playing a sport, enjoying nature by walking, jogging on the park or the beach or going for a hike, going grocery shopping, doing activities inside or outside. Maybe you're pressure washing your driveway like I was this weekend, or washing your car, cutting the grass, cleaning the house, climbing the ladder up and down, to change a light or paint. I don't know. Gosh, you name it. I hope you get the idea over here. Okay. Strength training is part of it. Strength training will make your body stronger. So it's not about building maybe that muscles and have the muscle definition. It's about being stronger. And when you get your body physically stronger, you're going to be stronger mentally as well, emotionally as well. And, if you work out regularly and you're not just doing your cardiovascular walk and maybe running or whatever, Stairmaster, if you actually push harder and you push and you challenge your body, I believe you understand what I'm talking about. And if you don't understand, I encourage you to understand it because it is so good for you today and for the rest of your life. So being intentional with your movement routines, so it includes strength and resistance, flexibility, aerobic and aerobic exercises to support your life. So it's even more special because you are supporting your well-being and hey, you're being a catalyst to children, to others around you too. So the earlier you start, the longer you will feel energized and healthier. Okay? So go at it because I believe in you and you can do this. Thanks for listening to the Be Fab, Be You Made Simple podcast. Can you do me a favor? If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend and leave it a rating. It helps the podcast and I really appreciate it. If you're wondering where to start, head over to my website, linked in the show notes, to sign up to receive encouragement, tips, and strategies to maximize results. While you're there, download a free health guide to get you started today. If you're looking for a coach and trainer to help you optimize your weight, body, and health, get on my calendar. Let's discuss your goals, establish a custom plan, implement it, and celebrate your results. Together, we can do this. Find the link to schedule a free energy audit strategy session also in the show notes. Connect with me on social media. I would love for you to let me know that you're listening to the show. Also see the show notes for the links. In addition to a qualified healthcare practitioner, it's important that you have someone in your corner who is in for you and will help you to plan and stay on track implementing your goals. Are you ready? Let's rock and roll this boat. I will see you on the next episode of BFAB-BU Made Simple. Just a reminder that this podcast is for educational purposes only. This podcast is not a substitute for health care by a doctor or other qualified medical professionals. This podcast is provided on the understanding that it does not constitute medical or other professional advice or services.